All right, welcome into Floor is Yours on the Five Reasons YouTube channel, an extension of Five on the Floor, as mentioned there. Sponsored by Biscayne Bay Brewing, the official beer of the Five Reasons Sports Network. They'll be hosting some of us at their brew house, their new brew house in downtown Miami. We're having a lunch with another of our new sponsors, Miami Grill. That's actually they're going to be taking care of some of our people on Friday, a very COVID-safe lunch that we're going to be having, but checking out their new facility, which we're going to be using. It's down the street from the arena. We're going to be using it as a place to have watch parties once things start to come back. So it's going to be a really cool thing that we're going to be doing with Biscayne Bay Brewing. We got some more Heat news in terms of our reach that we're going to get to probably by Monday. A big expansion of Five on the Floor, which is possible because of all of your support. All right, Ethan Skolnick here again. We got a Floor is Yours episode. We were going to pod tonight, Greg and I and Alex. Well, I don't know where Alex is, but Greg and I and Alex, we were going to pod tonight, but we decided not to because we really want to let the fans get in here, and we're going to actually pod tomorrow night after the New Orleans game. So I was at the Atlanta game 2 yesterday. Make sure you check out on the YouTube channel the latest Good, Bad, and Ugly from our guy Jonathan Ramlakan, and also check out Brady Hawk's dissection of Bam Adebayo's passivity, particularly in the second half last night when he only ended up with 8 shots for the game and 18 shots over 2 games. Greg and I did a full episode about this yesterday, basically 20 minutes on the Bam situation. So we'll certainly get into that today. We got a new host here with us today. You've seen him. There you go. All hail Ethan Skolnick, king of the crafty intangibles. There you go. We've got a new host with us today. You can follow him. He's part of our Five Reasons Skyforce team on the post games with Royal Shepherd. Royal returned to the post-game stream yesterday because the Heat lost. He'd been staying away from until then. Our guy Gad, Alex, by the way, showing up just on time. Gad, Tell him your Twitter handle for those who don't know it.
It's just my full name at Gadiel Cartagena. Kind of long, but I'll make it my name on here actually, just so people get it when they're watching the stream. That's just my full name. Pretty simple Twitter handle. I don't have anything extravagant like Tropical Blanket or anything. So
I think you should call it Trop Blanket too.
I think your last name is pretty good by itself, honestly. It's a lot better than anything in my handle.
At the end of the day, our producer, Manny Chang, Alex Toledo has joined us. I can follow him at Tropical Blanket. And, of course, Greg Sylvander, you can find at Greg Sylvander. Now, Greg and I dove into this. Brady dove into this. I want to give Alex and Gad an opportunity to break into this. Bam Adebayo, are we – and I saw – Cooper Moorhead, who I think we all respect immensely. I think he's basically the best sort of in-house team reporter in the league. He handles things in a way that other team reporters don't. It's not fluffy features. He really breaks things down, and the trust that the Heat have for him is evident because they don't like their stuff getting out. And, many conversations I watched Cooper have with Spoelstra, there's great trust there and trust to kind of tell the real story of what's going on without giving away all the secrets. He didn't make excuses for Bam today necessarily. He just acknowledged that Bam acknowledged last night, again, this is like the 6th time, that he needs to be more aggressive. But he also explained some of what was behind it. Greg, you kind of, I think, put more of the onus on Spoelstra, or as much on Spoelstra as on Bam in some tweets and in our commentary yesterday. I want to go to Alex and then to Gad. Who is responsible, in your view, who is most responsible for getting Bam to sort of try to take over a game, especially when Jimmy, and now they're 3-10 without Jimmy, is not there?
Honestly, I would split it up. I'm not sure if it would be a 50-50 split or not, but it's on both of them. Like what Leif was saying last night, I completely echo, and I could not agree more. Like the role that they have him in when Jimmy is there versus when he's not there need to be different because he's playing the same role in both cases a lot of times. And I know last night was an extreme, like it was probably the worst or one of the worst games that we've seen from Bam this year, but we still see that type of mindset to run the DHOs at the top and to always look for his guys, which is good to have as a teammate, right? He's a great teammate. Sometimes you want him to be more aggressive, but it's more than just the aggression, right? That's something that's been talked about over and over and over again. I think to me, like what Leif was talking about, the other side is Spo and needing to put him in those situations to get him going downhill. And you can't just have him stationed at the top of the arc and expect him to kind of make something out of nothing. He's never played that role. He's never been in that role in his life. Make him, get comfortable getting down to the rim, give him some easy spots where you're giving him screens somewhere around the free throw line where you don't have to have him dribble from the 3-point line to the rim, things like that. And maybe you have Duncan Robinson screening for him just, down low. you get Duncan popping back out, and it's like, how do you guard that? And that's not stuff that I think like that we see enough. And like Leif was talking about too, getting stuff setting up from the elbows there instead of kind of putting him a little bit closer to the rim, because I think if you just have him out there, just below the 3-point line all the time, you're kind of limiting what he can do offensively.
Gad, I'll go to you on this. One of the points that I made on Onside today is that, Bam has never been the alpha anywhere. You talk about the Heat bigs historically, okay, the great bigs. Zoe was the best high school player in the nation before he went to Georgetown, was drafted 2nd overall. Shaq was drafted 1st overall in that draft, was obviously a behemoth at LSU, although Stanley Roberts actually was supposed to be the better player and had some issues. But Shaq emerged and was a clear go-to guy. Chris Bosh was a top high school prospect who was then elite for a year at Georgia Tech, much more than Bam was at Kentucky, and then was drafted 4th overall. Bam has never been that guy, and I feel like they're forcing him. We're forcing him to be an alpha because the contract says he should be an alpha, but it may not necessarily be his personality to be an alpha.
Yeah, I think, he was even the 3rd option when he was at Kentucky. Like, I don't know about you guys. I was super high on Malik Monk and De'Aaron Fox coming out. I thought both of those guys are going to be really good. Obviously, Monk was only good when he plays against us. But
and since.
I think Bam, he struggles a little bit in terms of understanding when it's time to take over, because he's had flashes with it before. Like, you saw it against Brooklyn. That's the one memory that really just rings really strong for everybody. Just watching Bam go for 41, and it was attack mode from the beginning. It didn't matter who was on him. I just think it's a bit of a maturing process for him, because it's going to be tough to show up and be like, oh, I'm the guy on this team. And then obviously the plays aren't called for him, and they want him to be such a team player, such a facilitator, that at some points he struggles to kind of break out of that mold. And it looks like he's kind of, or at least last night, he was stuck in more Draymond Green mode than Bam against Brooklyn mode. So I think he's going to learn when to be able to pick his spots and take over those moments. But he's 23 years old. I don't think it's too much of an issue, but you definitely want to see him understand. I think the most frustrating part is that he's so ridiculously talented when he wants to be. Like, in my opinion, he's probably our best ISO guy right now, but we just don't give him the opportunity to do so, and he doesn't take the opportunity either. So I don't really think the contract factors too much into it. We all know Bam's worth a max, but you definitely want to see him take the next step to kind of be the go-to guy for the organization.
Well, you talk about, again, ISO stuff. Okay, so yesterday there was one sequence, I think it was first half, and it ended in a made 3, I think by Robinson, okay? Robinson or Strus. Those are the only 2 guys that were making any threes. So it ended in a made 3, so it got forgotten. But Bam literally had the ball at the elbow, and his defender just dropped out, okay? It was a busted coverage, just totally dropped out. If Bam turns around, it is a drive to the basket and a dunk and probably a foul, and he passed out of it. It's just the mentality for it is. And you mentioned the Brooklyn game. There was the Washington game last year. There was obviously the one game in the playoffs, right, against Boston. But other than that, we don't see it consistently. And I don't doubt that he's a max player. I think it's a very small minority of people on Twitter who will challenge the max player thing. But it does make me think a little bit, and I don't want to have the John Collins debate again, Alex, but maybe we should, because I think you rightly called me out yesterday on it, okay? But on Twitter,
no, you called me out first.
Well, I did, but I think that
my mentions were on fire. I woke up from a nap with my mentions absolutely on fire over John Collins.
That's what I do to people. But here's the thing about it. One of the reasons I like John Collins so much is because John Collins would take that burden off of Bam, because John Collins doesn't have any issue with having a scorer's mentality. It's who he is. It just seems to be part of his makeup. Now, the other things he doesn't do quite as well as Bam. He rebounds as well as Bam. But the other things he doesn't do as well, the facilitating, the defending, etc. I think there were tools there, especially for the defending. But I just think that would take – I feel like Bam wants somebody to come in and take that burden off of him. Like, it just feels like he just wants to sort of slide to the back, and then we keep pushing the forward. Let me ask you another question, though. Gad mentioned ISOs. We talk about the dribble handoffs. Why not more pick-and-pop situations with Bam if he's developed a little bit of that jumper, or the pick-and-dive stuff? Like, is it because the Heat don't have a great pick-and-roll ball handler, particularly with Jimmy out? Is that the reason, Alex?
To me, Bam is still not really a pick and pop guy. I mean, I wouldn't be against that, but again, I'm way more for the stuff that we're talking about before, and that Ariel was saying in the comments too, where you get a guard screening for him so he could get downhill. And look, I'm seeing a few comments now saying I'm anti John Collins. I'm absolutely not anti John Collins. Okay,
He's not. Stop
I'm not
it,
anti
people.
John Collins. It would be great to add him to the core. It's about what it takes to get him. Outside of that, like I just think Bam, to me, it's about getting him to the rim more and starting from there. I think he needs to be an inside out type of guy, and the jumper has not been as efficient ever since he got off to that hot start with it. I'm not really worried about it in the long term, but again, this all relates to the mentality conversation that we were just having, because I think his first instinct is always to kind of make the right play and not to look for the shot for himself, and that definitely has to change when Jimmy's not playing. And again, I don't agree that they don't have a good pick and roll ball handler outside of Jimmy. His name is Goran Dragic. I think Goran and Bam I think Goran is still a really good pick and roll player, although he is a little bit more limited. I just think he's really good at making the right reads with it. And to me, it's just about getting Bam comfortable and optimizing him as a scorer, especially when Jimmy's out.
Yeah, well, and look, it's not just the games Jimmy's out; it's the non-Jimmy minutes, and we've talked about that too. All right, let's go to number 2, because again, if you want more of this, Greg and I did this for 20 minutes yesterday, and you should check out Brady's not only he did an article on it, and he also has something on the YouTube channel. So make sure that you check that out. All right, number 2 here. The Rising Stars team was announced today. It's pretty stupid. They named the team. They're not going to play a game. Not that I really need to see that game. When I've gone to the All-Star game before, that's the one I usually skip. On when it's there on the Friday night. But I was interested in this, and the whole concept of U.S. versus the world is stupid, because the U.S. team is always has fewer spots than they need. But hero versus none. I mean, let's just. Now that we've had a month of Kendrick Nunn's resurgence, hero was named, none wasn't. Forget the age, because to me that doesn't play into this. Forget the how popular each guy is. Who's had the better season, Greg?
You know what? Like, people are probably they're not going to agree with me on this. Tyler Hero's had the better season, because Tyler Hero, like, what we're seeing from him is like maybe a little underwhelming, but yet if you look at it in pretty much every facet of the game, it's better than what Kendrick Nunn is doing. Like, there are maybe some shooting statistics that point in Kendrick Nunn's favor, but I think we all, if each of us had to bet our lives for the rest of time, who's going to be a better shooter, Tyler Hero or Kendrick Nunn, I don't think anybody's risking their life and going to choose Kendrick Nunn on that one. So, like, I feel like the shooting stuff's going to straighten itself out. Hero, what he did in the bubble, he's still playing well. He's had some big games this year. I can understand it, but I also get where people are coming from, because Kendrick has had a great 6 weeks. I mean, there's no doubt about it. But prior to that 6 weeks, he was kind of non-existent.
I'll give you that, Gad. Who's had a better year?
I think Hero's had the better statistical year. I think Nunn has contributed to winning more, if that makes sense, because what we've gotten on the defensive end from him is what I think a lot of Heat fans would like to see him get that credit. But he also was non-existent for the beginning half of the season. So I'm fine with Hero getting it. I just think Hero's stats definitely get him this nod, and he kind of has that name cachet around the league at this point. Like, everybody knows who Hero is, and they really respect what he did in the bubble, or at least most people. But I think Nunn was also deserving. I don't think they would have given the Heat 2 people in this spot in this game, though. So, yeah, I think Nunn contributes definitely more to winning, though, at least so far, than Hero this season.
Well, that's an interesting way to look at it, because I think most people wouldn't have agreed with that before the year. I think Greg probably wouldn't either. But
it's true, though, and it's a good point.
But I mean, lately, they do have 2 in the game, though. But Precious made the world team, of course.
Oh yeah,
I think the spots were easier to sort of get on the world team. Alex, who are you taking? Who's had the better year?
If you're just talking about between Hero, Nunn, and Precious, or is that the?
No, I mean, Precious is another story, because the world team needed players, to be honest. I mean, not to take anything away from Precious, but the rest of that world roster is kind of underwhelming. So,
I'm still taking Hero. I think Nunn's been more impactful to winning recently. I think there's no doubt about that, especially during the winning streak. He was probably the 3rd best player. Or
that's the only winning they've done.
Hey.
Right.
There you go. But I think throughout the season, skill set wise, impact wise, Hero has had it. I think maybe Nunn, he can sustain this level of playing. I mean, if he does this for the whole season, that's a different story. But I think up to this point, it's been Hero. I'm still really impressed by the growth he's shown. I know he's been, pretty up and down lately, but I'm not really worried about it. The age difference there is pretty big, and I think Hero is just a better player right now. I mean, skill set wise, I think Nunn has been the better player as of late.
I think we sort of had the same debate last year, though, right? I mean, I feel like at the beginning of the season, we were kind of like, well, Nunn's playing better, but we'll take Hero's upside.
It's always when he starts, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see. We'll see where it goes. All right, let's get to another debate. I'm not going to let Manny put up my tweet here, okay? That Adam sent him. It's not even a tweet. No, that one was a tweet. That one's okay. The DMs I don't want up here. There you go. Just throw it in there because the PJ Tucker thing came back today.
No, God, please, no.
Today is with the Heat as one of the teams that are interested in PJ Tucker. So I've been following, get it off the screen. I've been following the PJ Tucker situation a little bit lately. He's been awful statistically this season. Awful. One of the worst players in the league statistically. However, okay, I've been following the Houston accounts, and I've had some of the Rockets, sort of the people who follow the team closely, like we follow the Heat, talking about how he's had a couple of PJ Tucker games lately. Okay, that reminds you of kind of what he provides. Does he? I'll start with Alex on this one. Does he provide value? What would you give up? Would you get a second round pick to give up for PJ Tucker at this point?
Hell yeah, absolutely. I probably would hesitate to give up a first. I would absolutely hesitate to give up a first for PJ Tucker, how old he is, and the fact that he doesn't really offer you much on offense other than standing in the corner. I would still love him on this team. Like, I think that would be a really nice guy to slot in there at the 4. And I think a couple of months ago, I probably would have had him first in my ranking of like all these 4s that we talked about. And he's slid down a little bit. Like, I like the idea of Harrison Barnes more. And even Thad Young and Rudy Gay, like, they offer you a little bit more on offense. And I think, we've seen this team needs help on offense too. And those guys are two-way players as well. But Tucker is still a great defensive player and can still guard up. He could probably do it better than anybody else that we've talked about. And it would fit like pretty seamlessly with the Heat.
I only want Tucker if I get Oladipo with him.
Yes, sir.
Oh God, I'm just not.
It's not, and I don't even really want Oladipo. It's just if we're gonna do it, like, let's just do it and let's see what happens. Like, it's inevitable. We've been talking about Oladipo for 3 damn years, so let's just see what happens.
I think he's going to be highly disappointing if he gets here. I really do. I think Heat fans some of them are expecting something. You know what? Forget PJ Tucker. Let's switch off of that. But I like Alex's answer there because I want to talk about this other guy who's getting a little bit of interest. This just came in on a post. Harrison Barnes. We have not talked a lot about Harrison Barnes. I feel like
this is my favorite
on the Harrison Barnes train, right? Like, how do we feel about that?
So this is going to sound crazy, and this will probably get recorded, and people will play it back. But if the Heat can't find a superstar, like let's say the Bradley Beals of the world are not going to happen, and the John Collins stuff is too expensive, like, if you're talking about all around the league, the guy that I think fits in with this current team, if you plan on keeping Kendrick Nunn and Duncan Robinson and re-upping those guys and keeping this nucleus, Harrison Barnes, he's the perfect fit. It would sacrifice some of your flexibility going forward. But if you really think you're that close, I think, and when I tweeted last night that I didn't think they needed a superstar to actually contend, and this is where I was going with this, is that I think a player like Harrison Barnes is like the best version of Jay Crowder we could have ever saw, like a way enhanced version of that. And so I just think it would be such a great fit. So that's where I'm on this Harrison Barnes train. And I don't know if it's even real.
He is expensive though, right? So, I mean, and people are asking where he is. He's in Sacramento.
Dallas. Balling in Sacramento.
I mean,
he is.
His efficiency is off the charts over there. 2s and 3s. Like, he's doing good stuff as a pick and roll ball handler, which we've never seen him do before.
Hold on. I got it. So in 35 minutes, he's averaging 16.5 points a game, shooting 49%, 40% from 3, 6 rebounds, 3.5 assists. And that is on that 40% 3-point shooting is on 4.5 attempts. I'm telling you, it's the fit.
The other thing about
he offered you more offensively than Crowder for sure. It's not even. There's a decent gap there.
No, he's look. But that's the thing. And Ariel's right. He does have a de-escalating contract.
He's got 2 more years after this year at combined 40 mil,
which is reasonable for a player like him. I will say this about Harrison Barnes too. He's a really intellectual guy. If you've ever dealt with Harrison Barnes a lot, and that actually was one of the knocks against him early in his career, that he didn't love basketball enough, because that's the knock that the smart guys always get. That's a knock that happened.
Too worried about becoming a politician.
Right. Well, that's what happened with Chris.
Yeah,
Bosh.
like they're so damn smart.
Well, no, but that was one of the knocks against some of the big three Heat players, and it was definitely against Bosh that he didn't love basketball enough. I used to hear that all the time because he had other interests. I think with Justice, it actually might be true. But with Bosh, because I heard it about him too. But with Bosh, I mean, we saw how much he loved basketball when it got taken away from him. So it was a totally unfair assessment there. But I've always wondered if Harrison Barnes was a Heat player in that sense. Not that they haven't had those types of guys, but he tends to be a little aloof. He's a little, so I haven't, for this particular team that's led by Jimmy Butler, I wasn't totally convinced that it's a fit. He reminds me a little of Jamal Mashburn, who didn't fit particularly well next to Alonzo Mourning and Tim Hardaway, because of that kind of, they were balls to the wall all the time. And Mash was thinking about the 40, restaurant chains he was going to open up when he was finished. Mash used to bring a briefcase to practice. Okay. And he's done better than any of the other guys after basketball. So that's a little bit of my concern with Harrison Barnes. Not that I think it keeps him from being a good basketball player, but I just wonder with this particular group. Let's talk about it from a basketball perspective. Let's get back to it again. Do you like the fit? I mean, what is worth giving up for him?
I would ideally not like to give up either one of Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero, like really any of the guards. Of course. If you're like Precious and KZ, I'm cool with it, honestly. Because you look at what that contract is, like he's going to be an asset regardless, because he's going to be tradable to another team if maybe we don't want him or whatever. But he's also, just like you guys said, the perfect fit at the 4. Like offensively, what he brings at the 4, kind of like that third option scorer whenever he's on the floor, is pretty much exactly what we need. I like the fit of Harrison Barnes, and he's relatively cheap compared to a lot of the other options. I'm completely cool with Harrison Barnes.
I have a question.
Yes.
Would you give up Hero or Robinson if you got Buddy Hield back with Harrison Barnes?
Duncan probably.
I would give up Duncan.
I don't think Hero needs to be involved in that.
Yeah, I agree.
I would give up Duncan. I mean, the other thing is, remember, Buddy Hield's older than people think. He came into the NBA at 26, but so is Duncan. So, I mean, it's, that's a little bit of it too. All right, you know what? Since you mentioned Akpala, I think that's a good topic to come up here now. Do KZ Akpala and Precious have any trade value? Let's start with KZ. Not as a throw-in. Does KZ Akpala at this stage, for all the hype, have any? He can't get off the bench when they're having to play Olynyk 30 minutes a game, right? He's buried back there with Harkless and with UD and with Silva as basically forwards that they don't play. Does KZ Akpala have any trade value?
I don't really, unless a team loved him pre-draft, but we're the ones that gave up 3 second-round picks for him.
Yeah.
So I don't see any team loving him more than the Heat do.
No. I mean, you could probably get a future second.
No, but I don't think KZ is somebody that you just throw in as a sweetener in a package, right? Like a team that's looking to acquire young guys. Like, shit, if I'm another bad team, I wouldn't be against, just acquiring KZ, like this wing. This raw wing who hasn't done much in the league yet. But I mean, the Heat, this great organization, we're so keen on drafting him. Maybe he's got something there.
Can we relitigate an old conversation then? Because I think that we talked a lot about how they could let Derrick Jones Jr. go because they had KZ Akpala. And I understand that DJJ didn't play a lot in the bubble last year, particularly in the postseason. We've seen him find a perfect fit team, and he's not a great spacer, so I don't really know that it would have helped much with him at the 4 this year. But he is really good at the top of the zone, which they don't have right now, and obviously he gives them some vertical spacing. Did they mess up by not? We talk a lot about Crowder. Did they mess? I mean, what is DJJ? 23? 24 at this stage?
You got like 10 million though, right?
Yeah, but I wouldn't have given him the mid-level for 3 years. Or 2 years, excuse me. I'm out on that. I don't think I think that the playoffs showed us that he was unplayable in the biggest moments. Really, like when it came down to it, he was not reliable. So I'm not willing to commit to him. I think that they're good in letting him walk. The issue is KZ just hasn't developed as we expected.
All right, let's flip to Precious here for a second. He had the one coach's decision where he didn't play, and since the coach's decision, he's been hyperactive. I mean, it seems maybe he just needed a night to just back off a little bit. We're now far enough along in the season you can get a sense of it, but he hasn't played next to Bam at all, which is to me a long-term concern because until they get to that, he's a 12-minute a game player. I mean, that's because you're not going to take Bam out. Bam's going to play 33 to 36. Alex, how would you evaluate Precious's rookie season, and what do you see as his upside?
I guess if I had to put a grade on it, I would probably put him around, I don't know, B+. Like I still am a Precious guy, you know, and if you want to talk about it from a trade standpoint, like I'm not against trading him for an upgrade at the 4 or whatever the situation is, but I still like Precious as a prospect. I love watching him play. I know that when his body fills out, he is going to be so damn wide. And not only that, like the way that he moves with that body type is ridiculous. Like the way he covers ground is still like, it's one of the craziest things I've seen athletically. And like he's putting that stuff to use on the court. Obviously, he's still up and down. He's a rookie. But I just really like having him as a backup 5. I do not miss Kelly being the backup 5 and like how soft we feel on the interior. Even though Precious is not huge height-wise, I really like what he brings. I love him as a pick-and-roll big. And I think on defense, he's learning and getting better, still making mistakes. You know, he's no Bam. But as a backup center, I really like him. And I think he's somebody who could fill that role for a long time. And hopefully him and Bam's jumper could develop. So at some point, they could get some playing time together.
All right, I'm going to throw the last one here to Gab. Before we do, make sure you check out prizepicks.com. Use the code 5, F-I-V-E. We got more than 55 people to sign up last month. So there are a lot of people that are playing it right now. And again, use the code 5. You get a bonus, which is definitely useful, particularly if you have a run of luck like I had. But pair the players together from different teams. You can pair the players from different athletes from different sports together. Also, it's daily fantasy, but it's a lot more fun, and it's easy to get your money back, too. So that's another thing with these games that can sometimes be a pain. And as I mentioned, of course, Biscayne Bay Brew, sponsor. We're going to be out there with our new sponsor, Miami Grill, which is going to be feeding us on Friday at our sponsored lunch. So we're going to show you the new brew house where we're going to be doing a lot of stuff there. Once against COVID passes, hopefully, and people get vaccinated, which looks like it's actually happening. Once that occurs, we're going to be able to do some watch party stuff from there, and then you'll get mad at us when the Heat lose. So there we go. All right, let's last one here for Gad, and we'll close with this one. Jimmy Butler made the trip to he made the trip to New Orleans for the last game before the break. I had made the case that you got 11 days here. Let's just shut him down, okay? Shut him down. Don't play him in these 3 games. But the fact that he got on the plane, unless he just wants to say goodbye to everybody, it seems like he's intending to play. Is this wise? I mean, depending on how bad the knee inflammation is, which I heard isn't bad, but still, you could give him an extended break.
I think get the wins when you can. So if Jimmy's feeling good enough to play, they'll probably test him before the game. If Jimmy's feeling good enough to play the game. Let's go into the All-Star break with positive momentum. I would be really happy if Jimmy played and was healthy. And if he's not fully healthy, I don't mind it. But if he's healthy, I want Jimmy Butler on the floor. He makes his team so much better. They're 3-10 without him. Much better chance of being 500 at the break if Jimmy plays.
This comment comes in about Biscayne Bay Brewing. We can't have outsiders at this particular event just because we're keeping it sealed, obviously because of the current circumstances. But we're prepping for it, guys. Trust me. Maybe in a month, maybe in 2 months, we'll feel comfortable doing it. Alex can bring everybody he picks up in his lift.
Oh, no, you don't want that. No, you don't want that.
Isn't New Orleans close? Isn't New Orleans closer to Tomball, where Jimmy's from? Am I saying that correctly?
It is. Well, it's close enough. I mean, it's Tomball's near Houston, but yes. I mean, it's close enough. All right, final thing. We're just gonna one-word answers because the Dolphins guys are waiting on me. If the Heat get to 18-18 on the season, if they win this game against New Orleans, okay, after everything that's happened, is that in your view, and didn't lose the East in the process, right? It's not gone yet. Is that in your view, with all the adversity, a success? Yes or no answer, Alex? I'll
No.
come back to you. Gad, no.
No.
Gad, go ahead.
Yes.
No, it's not a success.
Yes. Greg,
Relative success.
one word answer. I'm going to be the optimist this time. I'm going to say yes. I feel like 36 games left. They'll be in position to do something.
See, look at all those words. That's not one word, damn it.
That's not one word, damn it. Biscayne Bay Brewing, be there on Friday night. We're going to have a big announcement, I believe, on Monday about some expansion of 5 on the floor and kind of our reach. So make sure that you check that out. So the thing we got Friday is not the big announcement. We got something much bigger coming along. And obviously, if anybody watching wants to sponsor us, we'll take you. We're pretty much sold out on 5 on the floor, but here on the streams, there's an opportunity to do more. All right, thanks to Gad. Good debut here with us. We're going to rotate some of our folks from our stream, our 5 Reasons Skyforce in here on Floor is Yours. Alex and Greg and I will be back tomorrow night on the podcast. Have a good night.